Welcome to the AJ Brown Show, where we talk about all things investing, options trading, and the like. Now, here's your host, AJ, whose primary mission in life is to help you become a better investor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 211 of the AJ Brown Show. Today is the week before Thanksgiving, November 21st, and the markets are brewing. AJ, looking at the charts today. Before we dig into that, my name is Cyprian Francis, and with me, as always, the main man of the hour, Mr. AJ Brown. Biggest pullback in a while. I think the people want to know your opinion. What are you seeing? What are your feelings? What are your thoughts on what we're seeing, AJ?
Lot of risk off. People are taking their money out. It's the bear jumping out the window, isn't it?
It certainly is. Let's just pull up. I'll go ahead and pull up your charts here. I guess you got the VIX, and then we want to just check on the overall. But the VIX is definitely back at these levels. We were at a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Founded, unfounded fear threshold. We are in the fear or the founded fear threshold, which means there's a reason. It's not just human anxiety causing people to buy options right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. And why? We had such good news. I mean, Nvidia blew earnings out of the water this morning. And I think what I'm about to say is coming with both a sense of relief, but also a sense of discouragement. This morning, John Williams, the New York Fed president, said that, and again, all these Fed presidents with their little tidbits that they let out, like one sentence liners, he's like, there might be some room for further adjustment. All of a sudden, people are saying, what does that mean if the Fed has been saying for the last month that they're not going to touch rates, and then today they're like, we may lower rates. So there's just a lot of fear going on right now, and um, it's gone above $26 today. It closed above $26 yesterday on the VIX. Today it's trading right now at this time it's at $27. Usually that tells us that there's something out there that's weakness, that's not just people wanting to buy insurance for the sake of having insurance.
Yeah, and it's not it, and we talked about this last week. It's not this like pop up and pop down. Today, tomorrow, like a flash, jump. It's been consistent since. And before the show, you mentioned today's profit taking. So, looking at your chart, are you getting out of the position? Are you, are do we have happy? Do
Oh,
we have happy members?
so the VIX hedging position that we put on 2 weeks ago, and we timed it for today. Today is November option expiration day. It's the third Friday of November. And so, I was telling people yesterday to go ahead and take the trade off, because for us, we went ahead and placed our VIX trade. It was a 21-22 top vertical spread. So anything above 22 is max profit. And we have less than a few hours left. If you go and close that position now, you're going to get, max profit. You're not going to have to worry about any sort of volatility in the afternoon session. So if you haven't closed that VIX hedging trade, go ahead and take all the profits that you can right now. Pay the commission. Don't worry about having it expire worthless or anything like that. Just close down that double VIX vertical trade. Take your max profit. Be super happy, and let's wait for the next bottom reversal.
And so if the VIX is spiking, that means that the equities must be dropping. Is
Mm.
is is one market leading it more than the other? Because I keep seeing tech, Nvidia, AI bubble, and is that kind of the sense that you're getting, that it's really kind of driving some of these, I don't know, profit taking for the year? What are your
I
thoughts?
think I think there's a lot going on, right? Um, the government's back in full force, but they're not releasing any economic data. I mean, they just yesterday released an employment report, but it was for September, and it seemed fishy, Sip. Um, you know, over the summer, you remember the whole controversy about, is the data real or is the data not real? And let's fire the lead of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because we don't like the data. And let's go ahead. In the beginning of the year, we stripped that department that's supposed to give us good economic data. And then all of a sudden they come back and everything's good. I think investors smell something bad. I smell something bad when I look at this, rosy, because you just talk to people on the street and they are like, we can't find a job. They're saying in the news headlines, Verizon is letting go of 20% of their employees. Every week we're getting notices that people are getting fired, and yet this report comes back and says everything is rosy. So I think people are doubting the official reports. We don't know if we're going to get an October or even a November employment report. So we're like flying blind, but the little tidbits of data we are getting are funny. Then you add in there that, NVIDIA is selling a lot of chips, but is AI profitable? What about all this tariff stuff? What about, there's just a lot of confusion, and I think it's finally hitting Wall Street.
And that's where we're taking the risk off, right? And
That's
I don't know
right.
if you want to blow up the S&P a little bit, but uh I think if you look at yesterday's bar, I was reading in the news a lot. Yesterday's bar, just the move, the intraday move, I think was very surprising to the street. And from your technical perspective, does that enforce continuation to the downside? Because I was questioning that when I'm looking, at the year view of the major indexes. But yeah, gap up, sell off the rest of the day.
Yeah, so the gap up was definitely NVIDIA driven, right? Because from here to here, what was the main driver? Well, NVIDIA reported earnings, the much awaited earnings, and they were stellar. NVIDIA beat their forecasts, beat their earnings. So, yeah, after hours and even during this first hour of trading yesterday, we call that amateur hour. Everybody was very excited. They said, okay, this AI boom, we keep hearing about the bust, but it's not happening today. But then as soon as those amateurs went off to work and stopped trading, and the actual, market movers and the folks that are in the markets throughout the day, they do this professionally during the morning and during the afternoon session. We just saw a sell off. In the afternoon, we saw a little bit of, maybe some bottom profit taking, only to have that go away. And then this last hour of trading yesterday, we call that professional hour. It's where, hedge funds, mutual funds, pension funds, those managers that have a lot of money, they have watched the market throughout the day and they reconcile their books, and they decided that it was time to sell off even more in that last hour of trading. Today it's been kind of, we've gone through amateur hour, we're in the morning session. It's a lot of sideways chop. But yeah, the sentiment is that the underpinnings are not healthy. And that eh, let me bring up one other data point for us, and that is our expectation for a rate drop. So it looks like, investors believe that as of today, it's a good chance that come December 10th, we're going to get a rate drop, right? But I want to point out that yesterday, today it's 73.3%. Yesterday it was only 39.1%, right? So what changed? Yesterday, everybody thought that we were going to have rates stay steady. Today, everybody thinks that there's going to be a rate drop. So what changed? Well, the Fed chief from New York had a discussion with senators at CNBC, and he basically said, I think that there is room for adjustment. Now, the Fed party line across Jerome Powell, across all of the Fed presidents till this morning was, hey, we're flying blind. And when you fly blind, you don't make any big moves. We're not going to adjust rates until we start getting government data coming again. The shutdown, what we're going to do is just slow down and let things kind of um, settle, and we'll start getting data back in the new year, and we'll start making decisions then. The Fed hinted that they want to drop rates this morning, and then that's a positive, but then at the same time investors are like, but why all of a sudden do you guys change your story? And it's because investors, their doubts are being verified, their anxiety, which is everything okay, or should I be taking profits? And when the Fed's like, well, we may go ahead and loosen policy, after they've been for weeks if not months saying we're probably not going to do anything, everything looks fine right now, and we want to take it slow, we don't want to and now they're like, well, we'll probably drop rates by a quarter point. People are like, and that's what we're seeing.
And when we look at the S&P on an annual basis, I know that the last couple of episodes, we started to brew on, well, the sentiment is changing, directions are changing, trends are changing, and you started to find some levels of support here. Are you still looking at those levels? Have some of those changed? I mean, we have roughly a month and a week, 10 days or so to close the year out. Could we continue to fall to close the year out, but still end up positive for the year in one of these, rear view mirror shifts where it's like, what time frame are we looking at? Are we looking at the last 2 weeks? Are we looking at the 6 months? Are we looking at 12 months? What is your biggest takeaway from, where the levels that we're sitting at now?
Yeah. Well, so let's go back a year. We'll start with your question and then we'll come to the present. So if I go back a year, don't forget we were up here at highs, and then we dropped down, especially culminating back on April 8th with all of the discussion of, hey, we're changing everything. We're going to make the world topsy-turvy. We're going to make our economy a tariff-based economy versus an income tax-based economy. And then from there, we had a rally that started at that low on April 8th. And we beat our lows. Our low that we were thinking about was right here. That low is 5,000, roughly $6,000, right? 6,000 was our formidable line of resistance. We actually, on our way back up, spent almost a month deciding whether or not we would get up above 6,000. Once we got up above 6,000, for about 4 months there, we rallied all on this kind of AI boom. People started talking about the bust. And then starting on September 25th, so not even a month, maybe coming up on a month, we're about a month and 3/4, we started to see weakness, and we started to get these trend changes. We hadn't seen a trend change in about 6.5, 7 months. And then we started to get trend change after trend change after trend change. They weren't even becoming mature, or when they became mature, they would all of a sudden switch again. I mean, the latest trend started on October 28th, so just under a month ago, and it's very much a downtrend so far. The scoop is we're still going to be positive for the year. I mean, the only way that we wouldn't be positive for the year, let's see, where did we close? I mean, we'd have to be down at 5,800. So I don't think that we're, we would have to have the most horrible December to drop down below 5,800. Although we were, I mean, what can I say, Sip? our highest close so far was almost 6,900. We're down at 6,500. So we're down roughly about 400 points on the S&P. We're already down, we already cratered not only below our low. In fact, let me bring my rainbow drawing. You can tell by my voice that I've been really analyzing this all night. Um, we're down below that 6,690, which was our big threshold last week. We even cratered down and we're trading down below our previous bottom, which was back on October 10th, 6,550. So our goals, the two bottoms that we're looking at next is 6,415. And then there's one right below that, which is this low over here. We're getting into the lows that were established during our uptrend. This one is 6,370. So if our followers, if our folks that are on this show want to write down some levels that I'm looking at, 6,370, 6,415. We're already down below 6,550. These are short-term thresholds that are kind of raising some alarm bells and starting to have people think about trend reversal rather than sideways choppy. Um, for me, I want to see where we bottom out. I want to see where we bottom out. Where's that bottom going to be? That is going to create or define our current trend as mature, because we'll have two tests of support, two tests of resistance. But I want to see where that bottom is, and then I want to see where we go for our next top before I start calling this a trend reversal. So I want to see where the bottom is, and then I'd like to see if we retrace to about halfway and then head down again, or what the next move is. So I'm not ready to call this anything more than just a bunch of sideways chop.
And I guess it's the timing of the month is good for that, because like you mentioned, it's options expiration, and you probably last week put on some pretty nice premium selling positions, seeing as you were starting to get signals of this pullback. Anything come to mind from that? Any industry, any sector? I know that in the notes, Bitcoin is a big driver to the downside. I keep reading everywhere. Gold is kind of sitting near, pretty high levels, but the Bitcoin story, I think, is driving a lot of the tech sector down. Are you seeing? I mean,
Yeah,
you're
Bitcoin is big time risk off as well right now. I mean, we were trading when we were at our high points, when everybody felt very comfortable about markets and equities and technology at 120,000 per Bitcoin. We're down at 83,000. I mean, Bitcoin has lost about a third of its value, and I haven't started to see people buying on that dip, bargain buying. So people are doubting, they're doubting right now. There's a lot of risk off, is what we're calling it. People are taking their money out. I'm not really seeing, we saw this huge run up into gold back in October. Gold's been steady. What I'm seeing right now, and why I think that folks are thinking a little bit more short, they've already moved all their long-term money. There's a lot of long-term money in precious metals. So that's more of a long-term play. It's this rise in the VIX. This rise in the VIX is telling me that folks are wanting to starting, they're really doubting their equities portfolio.
All right, cool. Well, it seems as if a lot of our calls from last week and the week before are panning out. People are
Mm,
closing out their positions today. We're
mhm.
waiting to see what is going to settle. If the market will settle down here at these, low or support levels that you identified to kind of make the next move. I know before the show, you had brought up the topic that was. I guess some people are asking you about. Are you seeing some some news headlines about the Elon Musk pay
Oh
package.
my gosh. Everybody is got their they're scrunching their pearls. They've got their knickers in a twist around this $1 trillion um $1 trillion payout package is what they're calling it. I here in Washington D.C. now that all the Congress people are back, you're hearing all these speeches on the floor about how people are getting paid $1 trillion. I mean, let's can we delve into this $1 trillion package, because I don't think people really understand it. They think he's getting like $1 trillion in cash to go like blow out on all of his kids and his wives or something like that. But it's not what people think when you delve down into it. If you look at his $1 trillion pay package, first of all, it's all stock, right? There's no cash involved. It's all stock, and it's contingent on Tesla hitting this 12-point plan, this 12-point goal that are so aggressive that it's almost, I mean, he'd have to pull a rabbit out of his hat over the next 10 years. This doesn't even come into fruition until 2036. I mean, some of these are that Tesla needs to have an $8.5 trillion market cap. It has to have the first milestone, he has to have a $2 trillion cap by a certain date. Otherwise, he doesn't even get any of the package. So there's this stepped plan, and then every 500 billion, so from 2 trillion to 8.5 trillion, so every 5 billion he gets a little bit more. But it also has to require that there be $400 billion in annual profit. He has to deliver 20 million vehicles or robots every year. 20 million vehicle deliveries. 1 million of them have to be robo-taxis. 1 million of them have to be humanoid robots. I mean, there's literally 12, and they're so aggressive, these goals, that it's almost a given. Well, I mean, Elon Musk has pulled rabbits out of the hat in the past, but um, for folks to say that Elon Musk is getting $1 trillion, I think that's really false. But these are very, very aggressive capitalistic goals for Tesla. And so, it could amount to $1 trillion. It's over a 10-year period. And I just wish people would delve down and not just believe all the news headlines.
Well, the big story was that the shareholders had to vote whether they approve or or not on this pay
Package.
package. Would you have voted it given the
Yes.
term? Yeah.
Yeah, I would have voted yes, because for if I was a shareholder of Tesla, which I'm not, so I want to make that clear. But if I was, and I saw these 12 very aggressive goals, where the company would be valued at 8.5 trillion and be bringing in close to a half a trillion in profit in cash, that's a very healthy company. Of course, I would sign off on a CEO that can make that, and I'm delivering product, right? I'm almost frustrated at a lot of these companies that I feel like are powering the bubble, because they're valued and they're not delivering anything. They're not actually creating anything that's being sold, right? And so you ask yourself, how can you value this company at this amount when they're not doing anything? But these goals are all, delivering 1 million robo taxis, delivering 1 million humanoid robots, delivering 20 million vehicles. Tesla must deliver 20 million vehicles per year. This is per year, a significant increase from, if all of these goals are met, and the company, you do compensate the CEO. So yeah, I think that when people are using this as talking points and trying to um, you know create animosity towards CEOs that make this kind of package, realize that the Tesla investors, they're not stupid. They didn't sign their name and vote for this unless, of course, it was a stretch goal. If Tesla does this, if Elon Musk leads Tesla to meet these 12 goals, I think that $1 trillion is under what he should be given.
Yeah, it's crazy to think because I actually read Elon Musk's autobiography. It's crazy to think that a guy from South Africa landed in North America with $2,500 in his pocket to be debated against receiving $1 trillion pay package. And, through the sheer engineering development of product, it's not like we're not using or people have not benefited from the things that have been created.
Absolutely.
Specifically like a star. I know we're talking about Tesla, but some of the other companies like a Starlink is giving internet access to the world. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that, right? What's the other one? Oh, and the SpaceX. I mean, I believe that has helped just communication flow around the world. And so I'm with you there, AJ, where it's a little annoying where they're using this $1 trillion. You can't fund Snap, but you're going to give this guy $1 trillion. And it's like, yeah, it's easy to say that, but a lot of people could benefit. A lot of humans in the
And
world could benefit from it.
It's not $1 trillion in cash. In fact, for this package absolutely has no cash. The guy's not getting any paycheck for the next 10 years. He's only going to be getting stock shares of Tesla worth this amount if he meets these goals. So it's like, come on, let's make sure we have our facts before we start passing judgment.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch on the robo taxi idea a little bit later in the show because I saw one of the names that we're gonna be covering.
Yep.
But I'm glad you got that out of your system, AJ, because I know it was brewing in there that you had to speak on the package and the vibes. I do have an interesting sip of the week this week.
Let's do it.
Morning sip before we dig into some analysis, some opportunities, some detailed options trading. And last night I spent a little bit of time trying to find something interesting and worthwhile in or what was hot this week. And I was surprised by my find. But 60 Minutes did a big special throughout, or I think on Sunday, but it was like I was seeing clips about this all week. Have you heard of this new sport called chess boxing?
I saw it briefly on the 60 Minutes while I was playing with Josephina. But what do you think about that?
Well, in a way, I felt that it reminded me of what it's like to be an investor, where sometimes you are banging your head, you're in the thick of a battle, and you're feeling the pain, and then you need to basically sit down and use your mind, right? Use your strategy and your skill. And so I was just kind of very intrigued by this concept. It reminded me of what it's like to be an investor, but it also is just kind of interesting to think that there's all these weird sports now, and this one was actually started by some Germans. So I don't know if I could find some more clips here, but very interesting. I don't know. Would you be better at the chess or the boxing part?
Chess. Chess. I mean, I could probably hold my own, but not because I'm a good boxer, but because I can run, right? I can run pretty fast. So I think that would be my claim to fame on the boxing thing.
Right? Like I'm gonna, I'm gonna do a Floyd Mayweather for a round, right? Not get hit so much, and then I'm gonna, beat you on the chessboard. But the rules are checkmate or knockout wins, whichever one comes first. So that was very interesting. Not sure that this is a sport that I would take up, but this was definitely in the headlines this week. Something to keep things a little bit lighter here on the
I mean,
AJ
don't
Brown Show.
you're a big fan of street hockey, aren't you? Like roller skate hockey, rollerblade hockey?
Without a doubt.
Dude, that is I like slow moving sports. I like sports where like scuba diving, where everything is slow and thought out. Anything that's fast. Like I would rather um, hang glide than skydive. Like I don't need to be plummeting to the earth at high, terminal velocity. I'd rather like gently find all the currents. So anything that moves fast, like downhill skiing or rollerblading, maybe not my thing.
Yeah, but AJ, you're like a big scuba diver, so for you to
Yeah.
go, I don't know, hundreds of feet underwater, to me, I would be scared. It's not something I would sign up to do.
And
So
I was just thinking, I love to do things like flying trapeze, which I guess is a little bit faster moving than. So maybe I'm contradicting myself. I don't like to think about having things coming at my face.
well, I'm glad to see that we're mixing brain power and physical power into a competitive sport. Maybe, kind of reminds me of football a little bit. Football is, a lot of people don't give football credit, but there's a lot of logic that goes into these very large men
Yeah,
battling it out against each other.
yeah.
Mm.
There's also a lot of brain damage.
Yeah. So there's your morning sip. Chess boxing. If you haven't checked it out, go to your social media platform, type it in. I'm sure it's a very popular search term this week, definitely trending. But you won't see me or AJ in any of the amateur bouts. All right. I went ahead and threw the link to AJ's quick links into the chat. We're going to be digging into AJ's pick of the week. We've got our speed round. And as always, any of the wonderful viewers out there in the world, if you have any questions for AJ, feel free to throw it in the chat. But the quick links is going to offer you all the links to social media. AJ will probably bring up one of the indicators that helps him identify some setup positions. You can gain access to those in this free indicator suite. If you're new to options trading, the past 2 weeks have been a great time to really start to use that as a tool, a protective tool, a way to withstand the pullback. If you're new to that, head on over here, click this register for free workshop. You'll get access to some good introductory strategies and get you set up for success. We've got the trading trainer as a whole, information there. We've got coaching, lots of goodies. Head on over to the quick links page. We're going to take a break. We're going to go through AJ's pick of the week. We're going to talk about some robo-taxi competitors. And we're going to, see where the markets are by the time we end the show. Maybe we're getting some love. I'm seeing some love here. Maybe we'll close the weekend on a positive note. But sit tight, folks. We're going to be back in a few seconds. The AJ Brown Show, episode 211, back in a jiffy.
I get it. You're afraid of trading in the markets. Guess what? I've got your answer. I've got 4 strategies I'm going to give you along with the tools to make it super easy. I'm going right home, giving you the webinar. I need you to sign up below and meet me in a few minutes.
All right. So we talked about Tesla a little bit, and I feel like the big storyline with Tesla is it's evolving from just being an auto manufacturer, right? That's kind of what they keep saying on all of their calls is AI, droids, we're going to roll out all these new products. But your pick of the week for this week is a name that's kind of in the same space, a tech company in the self-driving, well, not necessarily self-driving, but the driving space. So let's go ahead and pull up, get your thoughts on Lyft, ticker symbol LYFT, and that self-driving, car for Tesla, I believe is going to be a direct competitor of Lyft. So what are you liking in Lyft? What caught your attention this week?
Well, I'm watching Lyft try to find a bottom. And Lyft has a tested level of support around $19. And so that's where it's hovering right now. It has not given me a signal that a bottom has been found. So I am in a holding pattern until I get that signal. But when, and I'm not saying if, when I get that signal, and I want to get that signal anywhere from $18 higher. So as soon as I get a bottom signal, so long as the price is $18 or higher, I am thinking of opening up a position long on Lyft. And that means either buying some stock and I'll make sure I buy it in increments of 100 shares so that I can then do some options trading on it. Or there is a substitute option that has my attention. That is the Lyft January 2027 $10 calls. So either one of those, the stock itself or the $10 calls, getting some of those in my portfolio. And I want to emphasize, Sip, I went like crazy yesterday in our program participants workshop. These are people who pay for our program, and we get together every Thursday, as you guys probably know, and we actually go into some details. And I want to make sure folks understand that when you're legging into positions, they basically change personality every time you put an adjustment trade to it. And so folks sometimes get in their head and they're very regimental at saying, well, this is my premium selling trade, and this is my directional swing trading position, and this is my trend reversal position. But realize that if you're, looking at this thing leg by leg and adjusting it, you wind up just changing the personality of your position each time you add or subtract positions or add or subtract trades from that position. You could turn a swing trading trade into a premium selling position. You could turn a premium position into a directional position. So what I'm talking about here with Lyft is if we get that bottom signal, I'm going to open up a directional position on Lyft, and then depending on where it tops out, I will put the appropriate adjustment position on that, whether that be an exit position going into all cash or whether that be just adding on a collar. So I want to make sure that folks are understanding that when you leg in and out of a position, it changes its personality. It changes how it profits each time you put an adjustment on it. You don't have to be completely sold on it being a sideways choppy premium selling position. You can change the way that it works by adding or subtracting trades. Don't get so, you know, caught up in your own confounds of your your own paradigms. These trades are very flexible if you start to you know look at how you can holistically apply and remove these different trades to your single position.
Yeah, and I'm glad that your suggestion was to the long side, because I've been reading that out of in the space itself, the ride sharing, the self auto driving space, that Lyft is making some potential partnerships and is a little bit behind in terms of the love that maybe Uber or Tesla have gotten. So I think there's some strong fundamentals to support this if the viewers out there want to dig in. But Lyft, I keep hearing that, I mean, they've been sticking around ever since. There's really only two ride sharing in the US, and that's Uber and Lyft. And looks like Tesla is on the horizon, and potentially Waymo, but I'm not sure that's a publicly traded name. So yeah, Lyft, and also probably the best priced out of all your options, sitting here at this 1920 mark. So I'm a big fan of this one here, AJ. So your pick of the week, Lyft, ticker symbol LYFT. Folks, go ahead and put that on your radar, and let's see if we can get one of those beautiful blue arrows back to the upside.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm using my fast MACD on VWAP for my signal. So let's make sure everybody knows, whether you're paper trading, real money trading, or just following along, that we're not doing anything till we get our end of day signal with subsequent day follow through.
Before we dig into the speed round, I feel like we should bring up last week's pick of the week in Bank of America. Did you get the follow through that you were expecting here?
So I was hoping to go short on Bank of America. I did get the follow through. I did go short today. It's been one of those symbols where you just have to let it do its thing. Yesterday, I got reinforced. I'm watching it pull back. You'll notice that we've got my rainbow um, markings here applied to lift the same way that I apply it to my broad market. So I am watching carefully where I get my bottom reversal. In fact, it looks like I need to extend this little line here to the close yesterday. Today we've got a doji bar. We'll see where this plays out. But I'm watching carefully where I get my reversal, where I ultimately get my light blue arrow, where I get my lowest close. So far, this is getting ready to perhaps, I might be wanting to put a collar on this short position. But so far, my position, the short position itself, is up about 13%. And I'm just going from there, Sim.
Awesome. I was definitely a fan of this when we talked about it last week, so I'm glad to see some of that follow through coming through. This week's speed round, we've got an interesting palette of names to choose from. Starting out on the East Coast, this is Jen out of Philly, Pennsylvania. Wants to know what's going on in retailer. Kohl's, ticker symbol KSS. Black Friday next week. I wonder if that was one of the precursors to looking at this name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want Kohl's is trading down near its level of support. I would say its level of support is around $15.50. Some people would argue it's a little bit lower, but I'm looking at where we get end of day closes. And yes, we've had a couple of end of day closes over the last, 2 or 3 months that have been lower, but for the most part, everything has been trading above 1550. And then the level of resistance is less defined. I can even argue that, hey, this thing is trading consistently around 1675, but there have been these pops. Just recently, we were hanging out up at 18. There's an earnings call coming up. It's going to be before market open next week, November 25th. So what, 21st, 26th, 3rd, 4th. So this is going to be Tuesday morning before the market opens. So here's my thoughts. My thoughts are, let's get past Tuesday morning. I don't want to do anything until earnings has come and gone. Let's see how investors react to earnings. But then once we're past earnings, let's see if we can get in at this low, somewhere down here at the 1550. I'd be even happy going all the way down to 1450. But if I get a reversal signal saying, hey, we're on our way back up, I could see a justification for buying Kohl's. Kohl's is inexpensive enough. It's $14 a share if you want to buy 100 shares. It's $1,400. That's not that bad for most people's portfolios. And let me see. I've got our new options lookup tool here, and actually, I remember last week somebody gave us some feedback, and I wound up talking to that viewer. I think it was yesterday or the day before that I talked to Neil, IT guy. So imagine that he gave us some really good feedback, and we actually wrote that feedback up into a spec. And hopefully, early next week, we'll have an even newer version. We call it the full version of the options lookup. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I type in Kohl's here, and I look at all my strikes, and I'm going to look at price components, and I'm going to look at liquidity and see if I can't quickly find, and you know what? I'm going to focus specifically on just the monthly options. And let's see if we can't find a substitute for going long on Kohl's. I'm looking at extrinsic value, and I'm looking at liquidity. Maybe not June. Let's see what July has for us. I'm not liking that either. September, maybe. So it's really cool because you can quickly figure out, which ones have healthy liquidity, which ones. Let me look at January 20. Oh, this looks a lot better. Oh, I like this Kohl's January 2027 $5 call. So this thing is trading at what? Roughly $10.30. The stock is $15. So, but you're having an option that's not going to expire until literally 14 months from now, 13 months from now. And this thing has a lot of built-in. It's going to move dollar for dollar with the stock, but at the same time, it's a 2/3 the price. It's got a huge discount. It's like buying something 30% off. I mean, if you saw that at the store, you jump at it. So yeah, let's come back and kind of summarize our notes. Number one, let's get past earnings next Tuesday morning. Number two, let's look for a signal. So long as the signal is above 1450, we'll go ahead and either buy Kohl's stock, or we'll buy that January 2027 $5 call and go from there.
Awesome. And as you're discussing this, I'm a little surprised that I haven't been hearing as much Black Friday chatter. I knew going into the holiday season, everyone was like, "Oh, tariffs are gonna make things so expensive and this and that," and I'm not really hearing that. Are you seeing anything in the news headlines, the blurbs?
No, all I'm hearing about is, is there going to be a repeal of tariffs? I'm not, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think that what we're going to find out, because, there were some flippant remarks that was like, hey, you just maybe won't have as many Christmas presents for your kids this year. And the truth of the matter is I don't think that's negotiable. I think parents are going to, or people in general, whether you've got, kids, or whether you've got nephews and nieces, or whether you've got grandkids, you don't slight the kids at the holidays. Instead, you find other places to cut. You don't go to restaurants. You don't go to, you scrimp and save so that you can make this one day a year the happiest day for our little ones. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. I think December is going to be an interesting month for tariffs and holidays and Black Friday. We just haven't seen it yet. Plus, Black Friday used to be something that you did, the Friday after Thanksgiving. People would, after they had that big meal on thing, they'd go and like camp out at Toys R Us, camp out at Walmart, camp out at Kmart, and be the first person at midnight deals. But I've noticed, Amazon's already doing Black Friday. Harbor Freight, one of my favorite stores where you can buy tools, is already doing Black Friday. They kind of have kept pushing it, and Black Friday doesn't even mean anything anymore. You almost want like that product launch formula. You almost want that like everybody's going to get building up the hype for that Friday, and it's kind of become a rolling launch. So it's not as impactful, I guess.
Yeah, and weird day for Kohl's to be giving their earnings. Like, what are you guys talking about? Are you talking about last quarter? Are you talking about the next quarter? We're talking about sales this week, next week? Like, what are we going to take of value from that?
Yeah, they're definitely releasing their earnings, in the official, and then it looks like they are having a conference call. So they'll probably talk about, what's coming up for the holiday season, I bet. But yeah, that is an interesting earnings conference call day, literally 2 days before the holiday.
Yeah, we'll see if there's any learnings from that. All right, thank you for that, Jen. Moving on to our second name, Eric out of Phoenix, Arizona, wants to know what's going on with
Eric.
Ericsson. Ticker symbol ERIC.
Eric wants to know about Eric. Ericsson, just to give you guys full disclosure, Ericsson is a company that here at Trading Trainer, we have made a lot of money over the years on selling premium. I haven't traded it probably since the pandemic. So I'm kind of dating myself, but this premium selling program of ours has been going since 2008. And our options trading program has been going since 2003. So I'm kind of, I've been in this game a while. I'm going to go back. Let's go back 2 years. Okay. So, I always tell my program participants that stocks that go sideways tend to go sideways over and over and over again. And Ericsson looks like it's still doing that. It looks like Ericsson went sideways from October of last year to July of this year. And then they dipped, and then they've been moving up. I'm not sure I can tell you right now that this is a mature channel. In fact, I really can't tell you that this is a mature channel. I see that we're finding a level of support around $9.50. Resistance hasn't been, you need 2 points to draw a line. You need 2 tests minimum in order to define a level of resistance. So if you really wanted to do something with Ericsson, what you would do is you would see, and we haven't actually verified that we've got a level of resistance at $9.50 yet. We're still this move. Actually, it was from November 3rd. From November 3rd to where we are right now is still an active move, meaning we haven't found that bottom yet. We haven't confirmed a found bottom yet. As far as we know, yesterday's close could be a bottom, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. So we can't just start buying. We don't buy on like leading indicators. Instead, we wait for a lagging indicator to confirm. So if I was to want to buy some Ericsson, I would first wait until this bottom is confirmed. And I would make sure that the bottom was defined above $9.25. If it starts to go below $9.25, I wouldn't trust it. So let's wait for a signal. And when we get our signal, let's make sure it's above $9.25. If those 2 things are true, then maybe I could see buying some Ericsson stock in lots of 100 or buying a substitute call option. But I don't want to jump the gun on Ericsson yet. I want to wait until I get verified because, again, we're dealing with a new sideways channel here that has yet to mature. Oftentimes, I would prefer maybe we look at something else and we come back and revisit this in a month or so time. That's kind of where I stand on Ericsson, Sip.
And that makes a lot of sense. All right, Eric, hopefully that was helpful analysis of Ericsson. Moving on to our third and final name, Ted out of Atlanta, Georgia, wants to know the play with CSX Corp, ticker symbol CSX. Is this the train company?
Railway.
Yeah.
Yeah, freight. So the whole freight industry, because there's CXS, there's Union Pacific, there's a Canadian rail line. Freight is down. Again, this is pointing towards those tariffs. And so I mean, I'm looking at this movement over the last, 2 years, and I'm seeing it kind of oscillate between $32 and $36, but this is really slow moving, which actually, if you're new to premium selling, slow moving might be what's on your hit parade here. We're coming down. I guess you're wondering, should we buy some CSX stock? And I would say, let's let this bottom. And I would be really happy. I don't want to short CSX. Let's not short them at this point. Instead, let's find a bottom and buy some CSX. Let's bargain buy this if it gets down to $32 and gives us a bottom signal. Now, Ted, if you did short it, because I see that about a month ago, we did get a signal on October 21st, and then we got follow through 2 days later on October 23rd. If you did short CSX, then you're making money, right? As this thing goes down, whether you shorted it by shorting the stock or whether you shorted it by buying a substitute put option, you are probably doing pretty well right now, as this over the month of November has kind of gone down, 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 down. So what you're going to do is wait for it to bottom. And then when it bottoms, you have a choice. You could either close your shorted position, right? Either sell those puts or buy to close that shorted stock. You could either short it, or I could see you collaring this position. So when I say collar, what I'm talking about is selling the near term at the money. In this case, you'd be selling the near term at the money put option, and then taking that money to help you subsidize the purchase of a 3 to 6 month out call option. And the strike price that you're going to use for that call option, you can use any strike price you like. It basically, whatever strike price you choose, whether it be like a 34 or a 35, that's how much profit you will lock in on that position. So basically, if you got into this thing at $36, and then when you collar it, you use the 34, that means you've locked in $2 per share of profit. If that protective call option that you buy, that's 3 to 6 months out, has a 34 strike price. So if we wind up coming all the way down to $32, you get your light blue arrow, right, which tells you that a bottom has been found. Then what you would do is you would sell the near term $32 put, and then you would buy yourself the 3 to 6 month out $34 call, and that's your collar. That creates a income on this trade while the position is kind of temporarily going against you. And then as soon as the position starts going your way again, you can unwind that collar. It could be that put premium, since you sold it near term, expires before you unwind it. Then you just have to unwind the protective call. But yeah, there's so many choices here, whether at the next signal you wind up buying CSX, or if you're already in a shorted position, you collar this. There's so many choices for you to adjust this. I'm glad that you brought this up, because this kind of emphasizes what I've been talking to my program participants about just playing the signals as they come.
And that's the beauty of having a community and being part of a member of Trading Trainers. Re-emphasizing any of your ideas in your mastermind sessions, bringing ideas to the table, hearing ideas from other members. So hopefully that was helpful, Ted. AJ's breakdown of CSX. AJ, while we're on the show, I'm watching the Dow rally, 1.5%. The VIX down 7 8% here, maybe potentially finding a little bit of a bottom here heading into this into the holiday week. Heading into, I believe, we're going to have a lower volume week next week. How are you preparing? What are your thoughts? What advice would you give to our viewers, heading into Thanksgiving week here?
Well, I mean, I'm going to be a little bit of I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tease, or I call it a palate wetting. Every Tuesday after options expiration day, so once a month, we do kind of a lecture series with our program. And so we're all excited because I've been talking about new software for the last 18 months. We've got 2 new pieces of software rolling out to our program participants. And during this lecture, instead of my usual boring, like this is what an option is, or this is how we do this particular strategy, we're going to go ahead and launch this new software next week. So if anybody was interested in, some of the new Trading Trainer software, now is the perfect time over the weekend to either get back enrolled or re-up or join in with our program so you can start using some of our new software tools. Also, SIP, we're thinking a lot about the December options. So we're done with the November options. We're talking about the December options. We're looking and watching the VIX for its next bottom so that we can think about our next VIX hedging trade. And we're thinking premium. Since the market is now sideways choppy, we're watching to see if a bottom is found. But sideways choppy, high VIX, higher VIX means premium selling all the way. So all of those things, new software, December options, more premium selling, VIX hedging trade, all of the above for this upcoming week, even though it's a shortened holiday week.
And then we've got traveling, we've got family, we've got food, we've got football. Sounds like a very
decorations.
All-American
My wife
week.
is all about decorations.
All right. Well, for all the lovely folks out there for joining us, thank you. Hopefully you guys could hop in that Tuesday session and check out some of that new software. Otherwise, we truly do appreciate you guys hopping on here and joining us. AJ, the lovely folks from around the world appreciate you as well for coming on, giving your insights and providing a little bit of options and investing knowledge week after week. As always, let's go ahead and pull up the quick links for everybody real quick. If you've enjoyed the show, give us some love. Hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button on your favorite social media channel. If you're not already subscribed on the YouTube channel, head on over there, hit that subscribe button. You will get notifications when we go live and when we post some new videos and new content. Otherwise, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the team, leave a comment, send us a DM, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and hit that contact button and somebody can give you some information. Otherwise, we'll be back on air next week. It'll probably be more of a lightened episode given that it will be the day after Thanksgiving. And my Bears are going to be playing a couple hours after the show, so it would definitely be a more chill Friday on my end. AJ, any final words before we close things out?
No, happy holidays all. I'll see you next Friday.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for tuning into the AJ Brown Show. If you're interested in learning more about AJ and his investing techniques, head on over to tradingtrainer.com and create your free account today. And if you're not already a subscriber to the show, hit that subscribe button and we'll get you fresh content daily.